It's an absolute pleasure to invite the Karam Yogi, a visionary who's transforming education into powerful tool. तो मैं चले जाऊँ बस आपके लिए इतना काफी है.
Honorable Justice Shri Krishna ji, Namaste. It is our 83rd Foundation Day, and you are also 83 years old. It is fantastic to have you here. One thing he did not say, he is also a student of Somaiya Vidyavihar. So, that's not to say he studied 60 years ago. He studied 4 years ago. It is a reminder to all of us that learning never stops and we must keep learning. Our Provost, Dr. Shivgaonkar, our Secretary General Kalon, and all of us here assembled today to celebrate with us this 83rd Foundation Day of Somaiya Vidyavihar. Thank you everyone for coming. Last week I was in London. I was sitting with an architect, Carlos Dublanc, and we were discussing a new building to be built as an extension to our KJ Somaiya College of Physiotherapy. And I think those must be the physiotherapy students. So, I had seen a beautiful building that Carlos and his senior partner Doug had built in the Caribbean, which evoked Rajasthani and Mughal sensitivities. And after having seen that, at pictures of that at a workshop near Udaipur, I sought him out, Doug, and I asked him that we need to have these aesthetic sensitivities expressed in the buildings we create, in the centers of learning we have. I am not very articulate, but he responded very beautifully. He said, an education institution is where memory and fantasy come together. I took a while to understand that. He said, memory, because your roots are there. You are from your roots. And fantasy, because that's where you can dream. And like Abdul Kalam said, APJ Abdul Kalam, a dream is not something you see when you are sleeping. It is something that does not let you sleep. And so an education institution should be one where, again, I'll repeat, memory and fantasy come together. It really struck me. Then another thing he said, it is not something that we create duplication of the past. It's a place where historical accumulation should take place. It's where history, this is an architect talking. Huh? So he's saying, so we don't want to duplicate a sensitivity or you don't want to create a cookie cutter model, but you create an accumulation of that history. So I reflected then back onto this wonderful year we've had, as what happened in this last 1 year. Because it's a year in which promises have been kept and leaps being made. Promises being kept in terms of memories and leaps being made in terms of fantasies. If I look upon the badminton courts we recently created in Lakshmiwadi, 4 new badminton courts. In Lakshmiwadi, because my father once told me that although he had a sugar factory there, in the name of his grandmother, which was now no longer operational. He said, I may have been forced to leave Lakshmiwadi, but do something that keeps our name in Lakshmiwadi as an institution alive. And so it is a simple thing of 4 badminton courts that we created only last year, where in a day in middle of May, when the temperature was more than 40 degrees Celsius, the girl who's teaching badminton was also our student from Sakarwadi, said that the boys and girls come at 8:30 in the morning for a 9 o'clock class. They don't have their own shoes to play badminton in. They've never even held a racket before. And they all come at 8:30 to line up to start playing badminton inside these new courts. And I'm very happy to say, so again, what is it? It's a memory of a conversation with my father. And it is a fantasy of creating a world-class infrastructure where this is the first step. And if we look at the Eklavya Sports Center that we created, where we have a nice 50-meter pool. I think Mumbai has probably only 2 or 3 such pools. That it is again a memory of going to Nareshwa, to Girivanvasi Pragati Mandal camps, which grandfather may have held in Amarkantak or Bagidoda or Kukma, where you saw his passion for helping those who did not have access to privilege. And we created this center for all our students, because again, it was a thought process that I have membership of Willingdon Club, but does membership of such clubs only have to be a privilege? Or can all our students have access to these kind of facilities? And the name Eklavya again refers to memory, because it is a sign of exclusion, where Drona refused to teach Eklavya. But Eklavya still learns with Drona as his teacher. And then you create Eklavya as a name because it is a fantasy to show that in this coming future, we will make this available to all who will otherwise not have it. So again, it is memory, and again, it is fantasy. Similarly, we created a school this year. I'm talking about only this last 1 year, in Madhya Pradesh, in Ratapani, which is only yesterday been declared as a tiger sanctuary. And we have built a school right bordering on the boundaries of the Ratapani forest. So much so the boundary that this is the school and where the flowers are is the forest. And only 3 weeks ago, we have a wonderful picture of a beautiful tiger, fully grown, looking from where the flowers are into across the road to the school. I'm sure looking whether his cubs can get admission. But again, my grandfather, I asked him once, why is it that you bought any property in Madhya Pradesh? And he said, Samir, Bharat jo kendra bindu hai, muke hoda anje vach mein keda ke karnu hai. Meaning it is in the center of India. And I want to do something there. Time passes, life goes on. But again, promises kept. He didn't say build a school. Memory, fantasy, dreamt of creating a school for these forest children. And I will promise you that in 5 years, it will be one of the best schools the country will have seen. And certainly, certainly, it has started already. There are already 40 or 50 students studying, but we have planned it over the next few years to keep it as the school goes by. But certainly, it will be something, again, for access to those who will otherwise not have it. And again, as a university, sir, it is important to give sensitivity of students also to nature. And we are dreaming of a university extension for forest conservation and ecology. And again, since we have land that borders the forest, we have teak trees on our side, small property, and the 800 square kilometers of Ratapani on the other side. The animals don't know that that is the boundary. We will create a center of the university where students will learn how it is that what forests are, and it's not just that we want to see this in photographs. We have to keep it going. So we also completed 5 years of Somaiya Vidyavihar University this year. 5 years is an important milestone. Why is it an important milestone? Because under the laws, and you are a justice, you are from the profession, my father is also from the legal profession, that after 5 years, the law allows me in the state of Maharashtra to expand beyond the physical boundaries of this Vidyavihar campus. So we have dreams again, fantasies again. I like that word, memory and fantasy. So fantasy of having a forest off-campus center in Madhya Pradesh. A fantasy of having a program in Ayurvihar campus here, 4 kilometers away. Or doing programs, whether it be in climate change and agriculture in Karnataka, whether it be artisan-related work in Kutch, whether it be also work we might do, or it could be veterinary kind of work in Nareshwari. Of course, law also has to change with our fantasies. So while we have fantasies, we have to work with the state government, because sometimes the state says you will not teach for veterinary science, for example. So we have to work with them. It takes time. Your dreams have to take work. As Dr. Shivgamkar says, nothing was ever accomplished without hard work. So these are fantasies. These are memories. They come together. We also want to deepen the work we do on this campus. We are creating a wonderful new center for Dharma studies. It is existence, Bharatiya Sanskriti Peetham has been in existence in the early 80s. After we became a university, we created this. And in a sense, what we want to do is, we want to, in this university, create at least 5 buckets that every student has to take courses from. A whole range of selection that they must. And this goes well with what you have said. We believe every student should have an appreciation of the aesthetic arts or the expressive arts. Whether the student tries to sing or not sing, at least to understand, as in fact my nephew told me, it's not only that you create the artist, you also create the audience. Because there is no artist, or if there's no audience, there is no artist. Or there is no point of an artist if there is no audience. Similarly, a sensitivity or an exposure to the nature or biodiversity. If I have a campus that is green, which has trees, if I send you to the forest, then that is something you will want to sustain. And an exposure to languages, whether they be classical, Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, whether it be modern Indian languages or whether they be foreign languages. Languages themselves are a storehouse of culture. If you lose a language, you lose a whole thought process behind it. How do you put that there? And exposure to sport, whether it is for well-being, whether it is for competition, whether it be for sportsmanship. And exposure to the spiritual sciences, spiritual studies, not to divide people, but to bring people together. Not of dogma, not that builds walls between people, but what breaks walls, which shows us about the common humanity, and was what grandfather said, na manushat paro dharma. Memory, an institution is which is not only memories that are there for the founder or the generations, but for the resident 38,000 students who are there amongst our various campuses, for the staff and the faculty. It is for each person where they will build their memories, where they will see new dreams, and where they will create fantasies for the future. This is what education institutions should be about, and this is what we celebrate on here on our 83rd Foundation Day. I want to talk about another program that we created, was the Center for Advanced Neurosciences. And Shweta only this morning, Shweta is there, I think somewhere, there she is. She is the head of our College of Physiotherapy. And she messaged me in the morning saying that it would be wonderful if on our physiotherapy building that we are planning, can we create a whole floor for neuro rehabilitation? And this is something where, again, memory, fantasy, not just mine, a trading of dreams, and trying to take it forward to build something as we go there. So this is what we would, sir, like to create. This is what we like to celebrate. It is memory and fantasy going forward. It is to take it. I'd like to end with a shairi, which is, अकल के मदरसे से उठ, इश्क के मैकदे में आ, जामे फना बेखुदी, अब तो पिया जो हो सो हो. So, we are here in an environment of the intellect. We must teach our students that we must also let go of that intellect. And bekhudi means let go of ourselves. And ab to piya jo ho so ho. And with that surrender to the divine, with that faith in the divine, we continue to take this forward. Namaste.